I went to Mexico because I wanted to do long-term documentary photography projects. To self-finance myself, to be able to dedicate a year or 2 years to doing long-term projects. The original idea was to do stories along the border, the Mexican-US border.
Meanwhile, the crisis on the U.S.-Mexico border is intensifying as Texas towns along the Rio Grande expect a large influx of migrants over the next few days.
Because I was fascinated by that story, the whole story. But it became too dangerous. I felt that it was too risky for me to be there trying to photograph. And so I moved to another city. It's still in the north of Mexico. And I became interested in stories about young men from low-income neighborhoods. And it was because the city at the time was quite volatile, and the people who were suffering the most from that violence were young men from low-income neighborhoods. So I wanted to use documentary photography to understand that context better. This photo is taken in one of those neighborhoods, one of those low-income neighborhoods in the north of Mexico, after I started working in them. And this is a photo of somebody painting a mural in one of those streets. And if you can see in the photo, he's using a print, and he has a print in his hand, and he's using that to make the mural. And that print is a photo that I also took. That print is of somebody that I'd known for about 3 or 4 months. And one day, that person in that photo just asked me, like, "Tom, can you take a picture of me?" We were in a building, and he just said, "Tom, can you take a picture of me here?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And I took a picture, but it wasn't an important picture for me. I could see immediately, like with the composition and the light and everything, it wasn't an important picture for me, but he wanted it, he liked it. So I gave him a print of that picture and forgot about it in a way. But about 6 days after I gave him that print, that young man was in the wrong place at the wrong time and was killed in a shooting. The day after he was killed, I got a call to tell me he's dead. And then I went to the neighborhood, and they were having the wake, and they were going to have the funeral. So the wake is, they'll have the coffin in the house of the family, and everybody comes to pay their respects to the person. So you see friends, family, neighbors, everybody. So I was there, and I was taking pictures. I'd asked permission to take pictures, but also I realized this picture, this print, was on the coffin. Alongside flowers and everything else, the print was on the coffin. And I realized it's probably one of the last pictures that was taken of him alive, like a nice picture. And we went to the funeral, and as far as I remember, that print also went into the grave with him when they lowered the coffin into the grave. So this picture, that for me it meant nothing, in the sense that I didn't think it was a good picture for my project. It suddenly had taken on a completely new meaning. It seemed to have a significance to the family that I had never understood it would ever have. But they put the print into the grave, and so they asked me for more prints. So I gave them more prints, and then in the months and years after that, that image grew in importance as well, because it started to appear in different places. So in the first picture, you can see the painter is painting the mural in the street, and he's using that picture to produce this mural. And that mural, it's about 2 meters high. It's still in the street now. It's like 13, 14 years later. Every time I go and see it. Like I saw it last year, I saw it the year before. When I visit Mexico, I go and if I'm in that city, I'll go and visit. But also I've seen that image on T-shirts, on other posters, like in the family home, or a family member will wear a T-shirt with the picture on. So that image that meant nothing in the sense that I didn't think it was an important picture for my project, has become one of the most significant pictures that I took for the people that I was photographing. Like, none of my other pictures have that significance to anybody. in those, that picture has the most significance. In this last picture, you can see it tattooed on his brother's chest. So this is a picture that I took of his brother, I think 3 years after the funeral, 3 years after I'd taken that original picture. And the reason, that last picture, I took that on purpose. I asked him, can I take a portrait of you? When I realized that it was on his chest as well. So we organized it, and I took like 10, 12 pictures of him. But yeah, every time I look at that picture of that, every time I look at that portrait, like it means all of that story to me, because I can see the picture, I can see the portrait on his chest, and I know the whole story behind it. Nobody else knows that. Like, I have to explain it. It's not obvious to other people. Like, they look at the picture, they can't see the story. But when I explain it, yeah, they can see the whole story. But yeah, so almost the most important picture that I took was not one that was ever in a project.